everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be talking about which books I would still own if I were to get rid of all but 30 of my books. This video has a fairly long-winded intro, so if you don't want to hear me talk more about what inspired this video, then you can skip to this time and just hear about the books. So first of all, this is my first video since hitting 200,000 subscribers, and I wanted to say thank you guys so much. It doesn't really seem real. I never thought that even 100,000 would be an attainable goal, let alone 200,000. That is just absolutely mind-blowing to me, so thank you guys so much for your support and your constant love that you guys send me. You really encourage me and reignite my passion for reading and making these videos even when I'm feeling a little bit lazy and a little bit down. I do this all because of you, and I just thank you guys so much for sharing your love of reading with me and continuing to inspire me every single day. Now, today's video is one I'm really excited about because it's something different than anything I've ever done before. Now, I have started doing a lot of unhauls recently after going like a year or two without doing any at all and just keeping all of the books that I ever got, which obviously is crazy. I could not possibly have space for all the books that I receive, all the books that I purchase. It's just not gonna happen. So a name that has been on everyone's lips recently is Marie Kondo. She has a show on Netflix now called Tidying Up. I'm not sponsored or anything. This is just inspired by that. And she also has a book that has been out for a while, and I believe it's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. I'm not 100% sure, but I haven't actually read the book or seen the TV show, but I have seen the backlash from her. Apparently, I don't even know if she actually said it, but her suggesting that we bookworms declutter our books, and I think she said only keep 30 books ideally, which obviously for a lot of bookworms was like, how dare you? But I really respect that. I totally see what she's saying. I did make a joke on Twitter though, because she says keep 30 books, and meanwhile I have like 70 plus copies of the exact same book. But I love decluttering, so I really respect her methods, and it is something that I'm getting used to because I'm a collector, so I have to declutter all the time, or else I would just collect things and you would never see me amidst the pile of shit that I would own. So last year, you might remember if you've been here for that long, that I completely revamped my bookshelves. I went through and I got rid of a bunch of crap. It was a bunch of books that I was holding on to that when I thought about it in a Marie Kondo way, they definitely didn't spark joy in my life. They didn't make me want to read them, and they weren't anything I was going to reread. A lot of the books were books that I had put away in bins for years, and I was just keeping them because I had read them. Even if I gave them a low rating, I still wanted to hang on to them, which just doesn't make any sense. So I ended up unhauling a lot. I did a ton of huge unhauls last year, and it felt so liberating to let go of those books. So I'm actually going to be doing some unhauls in the future. I'm not sure exactly when, but I'm planning on going through my shelves once again, and I think it's going to be something that I will do with increasing frequency because she has some really great methods, and even though I haven't seen the book or seen the show, I've read some articles on it, so I do know a fair amount about the KonMari method. So it is something that I want to explore more, especially in terms of my shelves. By the way, bookshelf tour will be coming hopefully soon. January just didn't go as I had hoped it would, so I'm hoping to do it in February. But for those of you out there who are extremely offended by the fact that she says to only keep 30 books, you don't have to be offended by that. Like, she's not coming to your house and being like, you have to get rid of all of these books. If it brings you joy to keep more than 30 books, keep more than 30 books. What she's basically trying to say is consider why you're keeping all of these books, and if they are just adding clutter to your life and intimidating you, which my TBR 100% was, so totally get that, and then get rid of the things that are intimidating you so then your space can be somewhere where you're happy. So while I don't plan on getting rid of all of my books and only keeping 30 of them, I thought it was interesting to think about which 30 I would keep if I were to do that. So today's video is going to be all about that, and I'm going to be kind of speeding through these books because obviously 30 books is a lot to talk about, so let's just get into it. So I'm going to start with the obvious ones, and I'm going to tell you, out of my 70 plus copies, I decided that I will keep 7 of my copies of Alice in Wonderland. If I were being really brutal, I would get rid of them, but a lot of them have sentimental value to them, or I just really like them. So a couple of them I can't actually get down because I don't have any way to get to the top of my shelf right now, but I have a bind up called The Complete Alice, which is the Macmillan edition, and that features Alice in Wonderland as well as Through the Looking Glass, so it has all those stories in it, and it is a beautiful edition, so I would keep that one, as well as 4 of the Barnes & Noble editions that I have because I think they are just beautiful. But other than that, I would also like to keep one of the very first editions that I got when I was in London, England. So this one is by Puffin Classics, and I love it. It is beautiful. I love Under the Dust Jacket. It's just, it holds a very special place in my heart. And if you want to see the other editions that I have, I did do an Alice collection video fairly recently, so I'll link that down below for you guys. But I'd also like to keep Alice's Adventures Underground, which is actually the original title of the story, fun fact, but this was given to me by my parents, so it's definitely one that means a lot to me. I guess I'll just get all the books out of the way that I'm keeping multiple editions of, because there are some that just, the editions have sentimental value for me, so I would like to keep them. So I have 2 editions of The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak, which is one of my all-time favorite books. So I have the original edition that I purchased that I've lent out to a bunch of other people, and it is one that I love because it's the very first one that I read. And then I also have this signed edition that I got last year, and it is the anniversary copy, and it is beautiful and it fits the story so well, so I would just like to keep both of them. Next is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by J.K. Rowling. So I would like to keep the copy that I got at the Harry Potter experience. I forget what it's actually called, but that is also one that I got when I went to England. And then I also have the original UK/Canadian edition, Philosopher's Stone. It is just a very special one to me, so I would definitely keep these 2. And even though I was a late bloomer to the Harry Potter stories, admittedly, they do still mean a lot to me, and I think they're stories that you could read over and over again and fall in love with every time. So since we were kind of in classics mode, I'm going to continue talking about classics that I would keep. So next we have A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. This is my favorite Shakespeare play, although I would also probably like to keep As You Like It because that's the one that I saw performed at the Globe, but this is one that I actually picked up at Stratford-upon-Avon, so it's just a little copy that I really love. Next is, of course, Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. This is such a quintessential Canadian novel, so it means a lot to me in that sense. Being a Canadian, I just feel like it would be blasphemous to get rid of this, but this is also the gorgeous Puffin and Bloom edition, and it is also one that I got at the Shakespeare & Company bookstore, so it has a little stamp in there, and I would love to remember the time that I went there. Next is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, which I actually haven't read yet. This is another really important Canadian novel, but it is also a personalized signed copy because I did meet Margaret Atwood, so I know it's terrible that I haven't read this yet, but this is definitely something that I would like to keep forever and ever, and I do really need to read it. I'm hoping that 2019 will be the year that it finally happens. Next, I would also like to keep Fahrenheit 451. Is it 451 or 451? I can't think of it right now for some reason, but that is by Ray Bradbury, and that is one of the more modern classics that I read and really felt for the story. I really delved into it and got involved in it, and I'm just not sure where my copy is right now. I know I definitely didn't get rid of it, but it is one that I think is very important to keep, and it would remind me of some important things about society and the power of literature. On that same note, I seem to have misplaced my copy, but Fall of Giants by Ken Follett is another book that I would definitely keep. It is a huge brick of a book that someone lent me, and I really didn't want to read it. They lent me like this 1,000-page book, and I was like, thank you, oh dear, wow. And then I ended up reading it, and it was one of those books that I just couldn't put down because I got so involved in the story of these characters and their struggles during World War I, and I did listen to the audiobook for the sequel, but I would really like to actually physically read it. I just know it would take me so long, but I loved that first book so much and fell in love with those characters, so it is one that I think I could read time and time again and still love it. I almost forgot about this classic because it was kind of hiding in my pile here, but next is The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I can't say his name, I'm sorry. But this is just one of those books that I feel like you could read it at any age, and every time you read it, you will gain something different from the story, which is one of the reasons why I love Alice so much, because I feel like that's a story that you can do that with as well. But this one is one where I think you will gain knowledge that will help you going forward. So this is a book, once again, I feel like I could reread over and over again. So now just getting to the rest of the books. Next is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I've talked about this book a lot recently, but I fell in love with the story of these sisters and their struggles in World War II in Nazi-occupied France, and it was just such a beautiful and touching, heartbreaking but heartwarming story, and it's one that really nestled its way into my heart and just has a special place there. Next, I have a couple of books by John Green. So I have Turtles All the Way Down and The Fault in Our Stars. These are both signed, and The Fault in Our Stars is one of the first YA books, and really the first book that I read for fun that I really fell in love with. I read very sporadically growing up, but this, as well as The Book Thief, are two of the books that I remember really starting my journey to reading all the time. So they definitely are very special to me. And Turtles All the Way Down is a novel that I identified with in a lot of ways, so it's also a story that's very important to me. On that same note, I would also like to keep looking for Alaska by John Green because I really enjoyed this book. Similarly to The Fault in Our Stars, it's one of the books that introduced me to YA and reading in general, but it's also a book that in grade 12 I did a project on it, and I was paired with someone who is now my best friend and has been for many years, so I feel like I got a friendship out of this book, so it definitely means a lot to me. Next, I have Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I simply could not leave one of these books behind, and maybe King of Scars will also find its way onto this list, but I just fell in love with these characters and their story. They were so much fun and so lovable and just, oh, everything about them. Leigh Bardugo is one of my absolute all-time favorite authors, so these definitely are ones that I would need to keep. Next is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This is my favorite Alice in Wonderland retelling, so I would definitely need to keep it. I've already read it twice, so it's definitely one that I can see myself rereading again. Next is The Girl in the Blue Coat by Monica Hesse, another book that I've talked about a fair bit recently, but this is a story about a girl in World War II living in Amsterdam during the Nazi occupation, and this one in particular was a great story, but it's also very important to me because of my Dutch heritage, and knowing that my grandparents went through that and a lot of my other relatives, this was a very powerful story for me to read, and I think it's one that I would like to keep forever and ever. Next is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This is just a really important novel for everyone. It should be required reading to see a different side of a story that will make you uncomfortable, but it's something that you need to be aware of, so it was very eye-opening in a lot of ways, and it is a great novel supporting the Black Lives Matter movement and speaking on racism. It's one of the best novels that I've read about that topic, and I also met Angie Thomas, and this one is signed as well, so, oh, struggles, yay, but I would like to keep this one for sure. Next is The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. This is another book that I got signed because I met her, but this is a story that was particularly important for me because I feel like email. But anyways, I just really identified with the main character of Molly, so I definitely like to keep this. Next is another book where I really identified with the main character, and that is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. So Kath, the main character, was basically me and my struggles through university, so this was a great book for me to read then, and I think that I would really enjoy reading it in the future as well. Next is The Diviners by Libba Bray. This is just a book that sucked me into this crazy world that was so atmospheric and just absolutely wild, so I can definitely see myself rereading this book in the future because it's expertly written and it was just so good. Like, it's about ghosts and the paranormal in 1920s New York. That is just a recipe for success. And the final book of my 30 is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender. Next is the most recent read on this list, another one that really struck a chord with me, and that is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. This is one that I wish I had read when I was in high school, but even so, reading it today, it really spoke to me, and the main character struggles and even the other main character but kind of side character, both of their struggles just were something that I could see myself dealing with, and it's definitely a book that meant a lot to me. And finally, we have The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. This was actually given to me by the same friend that I met over looking for Alaska, but I read this book and fell in love with the writing and the storyline. It is a beautiful magical realism story, and I would love to reread it sometime soon actually, but I definitely couldn't see myself getting rid of this one. So those are all of the books that I would keep if I were to only keep 30 books, which I don't plan on doing, but I definitely do plan on getting rid of a few of the things on my shelves because I have way too many books, and realistically, I don't really like all of them and want to keep all of them. But do keep in mind that this video was just for fun. I thought it would be fun to think about which books I were to keep if I were to get rid of a whole ton of them. But I do encourage you to check out Marie Kondo and her methods. I think it would be really helpful if if you're feeling intimidated by your TBR or just your clutter in general and your cluttered bookshelves, just all of that stuff, decluttering is so therapeutic and I highly recommend it. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to click that subscribe button and then click that bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I post. I put up new videos every Monday, Thursday, and Friday. I won't have a video going up this coming Monday because I'm not starting vlogs yet, but the next Monday after that, I should have a video going up. Although I'll be in Florida, I'm going to try and still get one up for you guys. But you can also follow me on all of my social media. All of my handles and links and all of that stuff will be down below for you guys. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!